For those joining virtually, can you guys confirm if you can hear me? Just send a message in the chat if you don't mind. Yeah, cool. Thank you. Let's go, you guys. Is the echo still there, or did it? The background noise we'll hear in a second. There's just some people chatting, but it should go away. Thanks for letting us know, though. Cool. Thank you, Brian. We're going to give the folks in person maybe another 10 minutes or so to kind of finish trickling in. So if you guys want to take another 10 minutes, go grab yourself a drink or dinner or whatever, feel free to do that. Welcome everyone virtually. Hopefully the background noise has settled down a little bit. If not, let us know and I'll see what I can do here. But welcome everyone. Thanks for taking time out of your evening to hang out with us and talk about this really exciting development that was announced at TDX, React on Salesforce. I'm definitely hyped up to be talking about this with you guys. And let's go ahead and get us started. If you're new to the group, just a shout out to Paul. He is co-leading this group along with me. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen, am I, you guys? Let's go. You guys see it, but all right. All right, you guys, now we're cooking. All right, so pretend I said all this while this slide was up. Okay, so if you're new to the Dallas developer group, welcome. My name is Saman. I'm a software engineer at F5, and I help co-lead this group along with the amazing Paul, who's an enterprise architect at AT&T, and we're both very excited to have you guys here. I just wanted to shout out, if you're in the Dallas area, there is a really exciting upcoming Dallas-Fort Worth event. It is called Stand Up Weekend, thrown by Thonawalla Digital. Basically, the premise of the event is we spend a weekend volunteering for a nonprofit to build them a Salesforce org in just literally Saturday and Sunday. So if you're in the area and you're looking for some Salesforce experience or just want to do good with the Salesforce skills you have, come check it out. I'll drop the link in the chat at the end. Or actually, I have the link now. Let me just drop it right now real quick. If you're in the area and you want to sign up, there's the link. Okay. Before I start talking about React and diving deep, we have my friend Anil here. If you're not familiar with Anil, he's an application architect at AT&T here in the Dallas area. He was at TDX this last week, and he wants to do a quick recap on some of his learnings and findings to share with you guys. So I will hand it off to Anil.
Yeah. Hi all. Am I audible? Yes. We can hear you. Oh, there also. Okay. Thank you, Paul and Saman, to give me this opportunity to talk about TDX. So it was a great to go to TDX, and before that I had a boot camp as well, and we did learn a lot of things. So I just wanted to share here everybody, and just get your thoughts as well. So as per this agenda, we will discuss about the agentic enterprise. When the TDX keynote started, they started with this agentic enterprise. We'll go in deep dive, like what is it, and this was like 10th anniversary for TDX, so they did mention that. Then we'll go with headless 360, what is it about, and I guess a lot of you folks saw a lot of wiki and lot of LinkedIn posts about these headless 360. So we'll just tell a very high level, and then we'll just touch about Agentforce Vibes 2.0, then Agentforce Labs. React app deeper will be done by Saman. I'll not talk more about it. And then the last is Agentforce experience layer. There are other things that they brought up during these sessions. So TDX sessions, which I have a site, I will share that at the end of that. You can go through it, and it has a lot of persona details, like as a developer what you should know, as an architect what you should be aware, and as a UX what you should be aware. So I share that resource at the end of these slides. Please go to the next slide. So I'm a very visual person, so I didn't want to give a lot of words to this. But if you see this diagram, you will think, okay, agentic enterprise looks like a futuristic thing, lot of things. But the idea behind this is that this diagram itself gives you a lot of information. As I didn't want to mention all that, but let's say when you see this, you see a central one agent which will be like controlling all these agents. So it's like a orchestrator agent that will control all these sub agents. So when you think enterprise, agentic enterprise, you should feel as if we were having a monolithic agent where we will dump all the possible things into one agent, do it all type of agent that will handle. But this is not like that, and this is not like a mage agent. Maze agent is like a specialized agent where you will have a sales agent, service agent, shipping agent. That is also not this. This is like a agent or a super agent or A2A agent where you have one agent which will control all other agents, and this is how the ecosystem will grow going forward. And the headless agent is also whatever, sorry, headless 360 will also have these touch points. They are going to do all this when we talk about the next slide. But to give you a very high level, there are a lot of things we have to make it work to get to this position, like how we will do, like create a orchestrator agent, how we will create a context where whenever you log in or whenever you start A2A, you have that context floating across all these agents and shared memory across all these, and then you will have a unified interface. Currently, let's say we in AT&T, we have different applications. We try to log in from one application to other application. Now if you have this agentic enterprise, you will have one front door of the user, and that will prevent them to do lot of multiple authentication and all that. So this diagram is just to depict all that in a very easy way, but we can dig deep later. Please go to next slide. Yeah, coming to headless 360, as I mentioned, I'll just show you the evolution how Salesforce has in the old way. They used to build in the UI, they connect to the Salesforce org, and then they debug. So it was more LWC or Visual Force or all that way. Now the new way is that everything will be API driven, as I showed you the previous slide, where you have so many agents working each other. That is the concept that they will ultimately come when they do this headless 360. Here if you see that before it was mostly like UI driven, but now it will be mostly the API driven. So why they want to do is, why, that's what I showed in the previous thing. They want any system or any, let's say, chatbot or any Slack or any UI React, anything can connect to Salesforce, like one platform from anywhere you can connect and use the capabilities of Salesforce. They will still have all the Salesforce like capabilities, the permissions and all that, but still the flexibility for the end user is to leverage from any chat bot, like a chat GPT versus a Slack bot versus a Salesforce, I mean Teams, Microsoft Teams, and you can leverage that. So that's what. Yeah, I have next slide where I'll show you that. Yeah, please go to the next slide. Because I had the same question. So if you see, is it very, are you able to see this screen, or we can expand this? So let's say, thank you. So let's say we have any user interface or an agent, like a human user or AI agent. Once they log in, it will route to the specific surface. Let's say you can use a chat for that user interface as a Slack or any external app mobile. And then you have a layer where you have a context awareness, or like you can say it as an experience agentic layer, where you can make it aware about what they are asking, and then that will invoke the MCP layer, where it will understand the prompt what they are asking, and it tries to leverage APIs. If you are asking, let's say, give me a query of this, versus you ask some sales related, service related questions, or you have asking some technical details, can you find the bug in this code or something like that, it will go through the CLI command. So that's where Salesforce has provided a lot of these MCP tools, API, CLI commands that can be leveraged. And if you go further down, how that will be executed based on the Salesforce platform core services, based on, let's say, flows or some business rules, all that is within Salesforce is still there. So it will leverage that to pull that information. It will validate that you have authentic security privilege to ask all that. It will figure it out, and then it will also check the data layer. It can be a Salesforce data, or it can be a end system data, or it can be data cloud. So it will try to get that information from there, and based on that results, it will send a feedback loop to the to evaluate and see how it is doing. So this is how the headless 360 at a very high level. So any questions? You're clear? Yeah. Yeah, so this is a very technical slide, but the previous slide, but this is very high level where the same thing, when we start from bottom up, like the system of context is where you store all your data. It can be any other database or data 60, or like let's say in our case we have different end systems. You can pull that information, and system of work is nothing but where you have already your sales, service and marketing cloud, every setup there, or rules and workflows, it will pull from there. And system of agency is nothing but where you have your agent force agents created so that you can leverage the agentic experience. That is where you have the MCP and A2A, all those details. And then you have the interface where you have the end user chat and get that information. So if you see the first slide that I mentioned about the agentic enterprise versus this, it all correlates how you in future use these enterprise architect, like enable the Salesforce into agentic enterprise architect using this headless 360. Any questions? Okay, next slide. So coming to the next agenda about Agentforce Vibes 2.0. Till now, we were able to use the Agentforce Vibes for coding and Salesforce related coding. In future, we will have this React app also enabled, and we can leverage the Vibes coding using for React app, and also for the Lightning app and other transcript. And also you have different models that you can leverage, and they are allowing to use that, and they have lot of feedback mechanism and all that is coming, but this is in beta version. I just took a screenshot. And yeah, next. Yeah, yeah, this is very interesting. I can show a demo, but here you can create your own agent. So I did create a lot of my agents where you go to Agentforce Labs and click on start building, and then you have a way to prompt, and you can, let's say I have requested that I have in my company a sales flow. I have, these are the like steps I follow. Can you create an agent for me? So it created an agent in a sandbox org, and it's valid for next 2 weeks. And then I was able to play around how it created, and it helped me like step up quickly and head start with whatever the agent behind the hood does. So it was in a working condition. So you can leverage this and start building your own agents and get an idea how you can build like quickly. And it has some options of using the Claude code and other. So I would request everybody to go through this. Yeah. If time permits, next time I will show some demos on this. Yeah, so this is the new like React mode using the tool, like how the React mode works. So I will let Saman talk about it in his demo. So please skip it, Saman. Yeah, and this is the Agentforce experience layer. Since we discussed about the previous slides on Agent 360, where you can showcase the experience layer in a Slack bot or Teams or any other chat GPT, right? Since they are building that system of experience engagement layer, that is what here they are showing, that now since you are building that in a chat bot, if you see on the left hand side using a community page versus you're building it in a Slack bot, or versus you're building it in a chat GPT, you have to keep the um, user experience same across all these layers. So for that reason, they built up this experience layer tool where you can play around and see your widgets and drag and drop your widgets and experience, and then copy that code into your LWC or React, and then it will showcase how it is rendering in all this. If you see the flow, right, based on the prompt, before we used to get a response as text, now you can get a response as a widget, and how that will render different experience. That is where you can use this tool to experience that and play around. So it has some sample for the airline and support. You can leverage that. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, and here are the references of all these things. You can go through it, and it has more information. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, Saman and Paul. That's all from my end. Any questions?
Any questions in person?
Okay, thank you.
You got one question.
So let me know if you have any questions in the chat.
Did you attend TDX in person?
Yes.
Or, okay. Do you know how it was different in person versus like I did Salesforce Plus? So I saw a lot of the, like I saw mainly the
Keynote? The session?
keynote
Yeah.
session. What else was there in person that I could not?
Yeah, in person you have some hands-on experience workshops, and also you have like boot camp, and like you have the camps, mini camps, hackathon, and you can go to the actual consultant or the Salesforce person and ask questions whatever you have when it is GA, or how you can show me. And there are a lot of vendors who have used this ISV, and you can experience that. Next time please do visit. Yeah.
It's like a mini. Have you been to Dreamforce?
Yes, I've been to Dreamforce. I was just curious to know what was experienced live, like in person, that I was not able to experience.
Like specifically, or just in TDX in general?
I guess, mainly specifically, but okay. I understand, having done Dreamforce, Salesforce Plus, I've been there on Dreamforce. I understand the differences, but I was just curious, specifically with all of the Agentforce products being spewed out everywhere.
TDX to me is like speed dating version of Dreamforce. It's a lot of shorter sessions, mostly, or a lot of them are by product owners at Salesforce, not nearly as many sales consultants, dog and pony shows. It is all technology features from Salesforce.
Okay. So would you say that if I had to choose between attending Dreamforce or attending TDX, better to attend TDX?
That was my vote until I started to have to come to Dreamforce after this year. But yeah, no, I wasn't probably going to go to another Dreamforce after I went to my first TDX, because it was much more concentrated, one building, and everybody.
It's one building. Okay.
It's only
that was
Moscone
one problem
West.
that I had with Dreamforce, because I was like, I got like 20 minutes between sessions. Oh, it's on the other side of the complex. I'm never getting there in time.
Yeah, no, it tech content.
And it's more audience too, whereas for Dreamforce, it's customers. For it's more configurators. It's kind of like camp.
So, yeah, TDX is kind of like camp.
All right, you guys. Time to get cooking. React on Salesforce. Nathan, can you hear me in the back? It was my audio. I'm good. We're doing a good job.
Will you plug my website?
Yes. Let me get the link and I'll drop it.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. React on Salesforce. So what is React? Let's start there. React is just a JavaScript library for building UIs. That's all it is. The way that we build those UIs is with components. So you might create a header component and then reference that in your main file. You can create smaller components like a navbar component, a hero component, and you can build a web app by building these small little Lego blocks and combining them in different ways. So if all pages need a header, great. If some pages don't need a hero, then you don't have to add that component. You can have a composable UI. When we create these components in React, they're nothing special. They're just JavaScript functions. So I'll create a function in JavaScript. I'll give it a name like some component, and then I can use that. But in order for this to actually work and be a true component in React, what I need is to return something. And what I return in React is called JSX. So JSX is basically like a hybrid between HTML and JavaScript. Think about how you build Lightning Web Components. You typically have an HTML file and a JavaScript file. And what you do is you have the HTML file represent like the true bones of your application. The JavaScript goes and calls Apex. It goes and does calculations. It figures out some output and it gives that to your HTML so it can render it. JSX is a little bit different. You can combine all that in one file. And you can pass information down to these components. And whenever you pass information down, those are called props. So I can pass a prop into a component from like a parent component and then reference that with some special syntax like these squiggly braces. And I'm able to pass information from parents to children to grandchildren, etc. This is just one way to do it in React. The whole ecosystem gets pretty complicated. There's things like the context API for you to share context. There's things like Redux out there for you to be able to share context like this. So it gets kind of out there, and I'll talk a little bit about the different ways to do that. But what I want to focus on, oh, I forgot about this. Yeah, so if a component changes, React reacts to a change. So that means if a parent sends a new value to a child, that child will automatically be refreshed on your behalf. You don't need to do any of the plumbing. You don't need to do any of that thinking or calculation whenever you're building it. React handles that all for you, hence the name. Why should you care, right? We're Salesforce developers. Who cares about React? Here's the thing. React opens up a whole new world for us. It truly is like a big bang for us as Salesforce developers. And let me tell you a little bit about why. So if you think about Salesforce's evolution of creating these web UIs, ignore like page layouts and all that. Think about the code options that we have. In 2008, they introduced Visualforce. And Visualforce was pretty good, right? It gave us the ability to basically come up with these components on the server and send them over to the client. It allowed us to connect to Apex really well. It gave us some standard controllers that we were able to take advantage of. It wasn't too bad. But there was some trade-offs with it, right? We had to make round trips to the server for everything that we needed. There was some bloat on the view state. And there was no true like life cycle with Visualforce pages. And as we were working on Visualforce, the rest of the industry was moving on to things like Angular or SPA. SPA is a single page application. So that completely changed the paradigm of what folks are doing when they're building web apps, because they're putting more of the emphasis of that compute on the client's browser instead of on the server. And that allows them to refresh data a lot faster and make the UI a little more dynamic. So Salesforce's kind of foray into building these SPAs was with Aura components in 2014. Aura components, they were, I guess, fine, but if you've ever developed in them, you probably are not usually having a good time, right? It's not fun. The markup is very verbose. It's all very proprietary syntax. So if you know like Angular or React, you can't just like pick up Aura components and go. You have to like truly adopt to the learning curve. There were some issues with like two-way binding, the shadow DOM, and just like a slow runtime in general because of some of the custom rendering that was implemented with Aura. So as a response to Aura, Salesforce came out with Lightning Web Components, right? And this was great. People celebrated this because they finally started building on web standards instead of coming up with proprietary solutions. And when I say web standards, I'm talking about things like custom elements, ES modules, being able to template, stuff like that. With LWC, we were able to take advantage of the browser's native rendering. There's no virtual DOM. And now that we have this concept of a shadow DOM that we can take advantage of, which means any of the internals of our Lightning Web Component don't leak out to the browser or some like parent iframe or something like that. We also got some advantages like having the Lightning data server, wire adapters. We have the ability to start caching these responses, and had a bunch of different ways to respect FLS when we went to Salesforce to go retrieve data. And the tooling around it has been pretty good too. If you guys build with Lightning Web Components, we can write jest test. There's some compatibility with NPM out there a little bit that we can use. But as of just 2 or 3 weeks ago, we have this new option, React. And I'm pretty happy about it, but the thing with this is that React didn't just get invented 2 or 3 weeks ago, right? It's been around for a while. So 2026 is really just the year of React being on Salesforce and fitting in with all these other options that we have. And that adds to some of the complexity when we're building these applications, right? Which one do we choose? React was really introduced in 2013. That's when V0 came out. It was built at Facebook by some Facebook engineers. And I want you to really take a second to think about the implications of React coming out in 2013, but still being relevant today. While React was released between 2013 to 2014, we were all still building Visualforce pages. trying to define the best practices, trying to work around some of the issues that we have. 2014 came out, we finally got SPAs, we were able to build some more modern UIs, but between 2014 and 2018, we were learning a new framework or library. We are relearning best practices for it. We're coming up with new sets of workarounds, et cetera, and we're not having a good time. So 2018 comes around, and again, we have to stop what we learned, learn something new, learn new best practices, learn new ways of doing things. Meanwhile, React developers have just been iterating and continuing to build and develop their skill sets for the past 15 years, while we've had to continuously adapt to new technology. So back to why you should care. One of the benefits of React is that you're going to spend less time reinventing the wheel. And one of the reasons you're going to do that is because of something called NPM. This is the Node Package Manager. NPM is basically like a giant database of all these pre-built packages, JavaScript packages that other developers have built and deployed onto NPM that is free for you to download and use in your projects. Any developer can upload these and share these, and as a developer, you can install them, add them to your projects, load them in as a dependency, and build apps much faster without having to, like I said, reinvent the wheel. React itself is a library on NPM, so you can literally install React from NPM, but you can install other things, like there's ShadCDN and Radix. These are basically the equivalents of the SLDS Lightning Design Framework. These are, I'll kind of talk about this a little bit more. But from there, there's a whole bunch of other packages. There's Rechart and Sheet if you need to show data to your users in elegant ways that you can't do with Lightning Web Components. There's Axios on there that you can install if you want to make requests out to other services or API requests. And it just keeps going. There's 3.5 million, I think last I checked, packages. That's 3.5 million opportunities for you to take advantage of software that someone else has already built and possibly made open source, for you to just take, use, and move on with your life to build the application that you're meant to build, not get obsessed over like how to build a date picker in Salesforce, or how to build out a proper form, or how to handle like context in Lightning Web Components. So the second reason that I think you should care is because it's really going to help us build more consistent UX, UIs across our whole enterprise, across our whole company. So think about company.com, just some imaginary company. If they have their homepage, they more than likely built it in React, Next.js, maybe even Gatsby, some existing modern UI framework. And when we as Salesforce developers come in to help them build support.company.com, so this is our Service Cloud experience site, what do we use? We have to use Lightning Web Components. And it's not bad. I've seen a lot of good examples where we were able to mimic the actual company's UI, and we've even done that. But at the end of the day, it's two separate technologies where one is trying to mimic the other, right? Every time we build a support site, we want it to look and feel like our main company site so our customers can have a consistent user experience and feeling as they're using the site. So thanks to this new development and release, we can now consolidate our tech stack. And this has multiple implications beyond just a consistent UI UX. This also means the developers at your company that are building the homepage can now also help build support.company.com. This even means that if you're building the React site for support.company.com, you can go ahead and help build company.com's homepage too. And this is something that happened to me. I took the time just the past few years to learn React on my own. And at work, we were a little bit behind on redesigning our like f5.com homepage. And because I knew React, I was able to go help that team a little bit. And I think this is going to really open up those same opportunities for a lot of other people, because now you don't have to dedicate personal time to go learn React. You have a legitimate use case for learning it along with the Salesforce work that you're doing. Third reason that I think you should care is scale, support, and resources. I just pulled a random library from NPM called React PDF. And if you look at how many times it was downloaded just this week alone, it's 4.1 million times. So just think about the scale of how these components that are being created are being used, tested, and documented every single day, every single week. Compare this to if you knew some developer that posted on LinkedIn and said, hey guys, I built like a Lightning Web Component to render PDFs. They might have a few people using it, but it's not having 4.1 million downloads a week. So you can think of some of the implications from there. React itself talking about scale, support, and resources, 131 million downloads this week alone. Like, that's nuts, right? Like, Lightning Web could never get close to that. So the implications there, one of those is it's much easier, not much easier, but it's much more accessible to learn React because the content's been out there for a long time. These videos are 5 years old, 2 years old, 3 years old, 6 million views, 2 million views, 2 million views, and there's plenty more with many more views. What I'm trying to get at is the ecosystem here is a lot bigger, right? It's easier for you to learn, but it was also easier for many other people to learn as well. And the third thing is when it comes to support and resources, vibe coding is obviously huge, right? So these models, because there's so many React projects out there that are open source and publicly available, these models have had the opportunity to train on React projects in a way that Lightning Web Components could never have been trained, right? Because there's just not that many Lightning Web Components publicly available as open source projects. So we can use Agentforce Vibes, Claude Code, Codex, etc., to be able to create these React components a lot easier than we would have with Lightning Web Components. And speaking of Agentforce Vibes, one of the things they announced at TDX2 was that Agentforce Vibes is going to be preloaded with some skills for React on Salesforce, which makes it even easier for us to build React components and deploy them on Salesforce because they're grounded in some extra context that Salesforce has provided us via the skill files. Fourth thing, this is selfishly going to make us more T-shaped. If you're not familiar with the concept of being T-shaped, most of us have a depth of skills. That is the long part of the T. For most of us, this is Salesforce, right? Whether we are developers writing Apex and Lightning Web Components or admins building flows, et cetera, et cetera. That is our depth. Our breadth is what we don't have the entire expertise on, but we have some context in. We know a little bit here and there, but we're not true experts. I think having React in our tool belt here is going to help us be a little more T-shaped. We can step outside the ecosystem a little bit while still being able to deploy on Salesforce, learn about other tools, learn about other ways that people are building applications. And maybe if the opportunity presented itself and you were interested in it, you could just be a React developer. You don't have to be limited to the Salesforce platform. So those opportunities kind of open up to you. And same thing for other developers that maybe they know React really well and they want to learn Salesforce. They can now kind of jump in, bring in some transferable skills and help us build on the Salesforce platform. Yeah, Jason.
So it gives you another lane, so it really makes you pie-shaped.
It could make you pie-shaped. Yeah, I could see. Yeah, I see you.
It gives you another lane, so it makes you pie-shaped.
Yeah.
Someone just
Yeah,
one
what's
other
up?
question. So I've actually seen this transition between Visualforce to Aura to LWC personally. For many of the clients, I've done the transformations. But then just have one question here. So during my consulting days, so in LWC, we had a requirement to kind of show a chart, and then we kind of imported chart.js to achieve that.
Right.
And then some other libraries as well, which is open source and publicly available, right? So one issue which was raised or a concern for the clients was that what happens if there's an update to this? And then if the code breaks, like you're not going to take responsibility because you've used an external library. If we're gonna let it happen, then what's going to happen to our UI, right? So like you mentioned, a lot of these or most of these are open source libraries, right? So how do we take care of these kind of questions or scenarios?
Yeah. So the really cool thing, again, tying this back to React and how many people use it, there's so many of these best practices already documented from people that have the same issue with other technologies. Yeah. So if you guys aren't familiar with what he's talking about, there are ways that we can take existing bundles of JavaScript, put them in a static resource, and then use them in our Lightning Web Components. One of the good things about that approach that kind of limits whether or not it like breaks is that you're effectively taking a versioned
and then putting
copy of that code. So it's not going to just automatically change without you knowing it.
True.
But I can kind of document some other best practices and get back to you in general about that. Yeah.
What about the browser dependencies? Like, does it work across all the browsers or
With React? Yeah, as far as I know, all the modern browsers handle React. I'll get to one of the reasons why, but not React, but what we do when we build React applications is we bundle the code into just plain JavaScript. that allows any browser to be able to easily consume it. And I'll talk about that in a little more detail.
So
yeah.
when you load JavaScript libraries for a static resource, usually you're embedding them into a Visualforce page or an LWC.
Yeah.
I think isn't the directive, the doc type, still HTML5 and limited to where you have to bootstrap, or it's HTML4 and you have to bootstrap the HTML5
HTML5.
stuff.
Yeah.
So that's a hassle. That's
yeah.
Okay. React, any of this fix
that? Well, some of the benefits are the dev workflow, to your point. So you don't have to bundle it in this hacky way. I'll actually show a demo of like how we will be able to do that.
Perfect. So, so these npm packages, we need to install them, and then so based on those packages, our React would start working.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Yeah, thanks for asking. Any other questions? Opportunity to pause? Yeah.
on the side?
The power button.
Just
Yeah, so Salesforce has this Canvas app, right? So where we can embed the third-party systems. So does this support that one? Like if I build a app in the React JS, I have the Canvas app. So can I integrate both, talk to seamlessly each other, or?
I don't know if you can use Canvas in the React. I know React right now, it's very limited on where you can deploy it. You can either deploy it into an experience or into a app launcher item. They haven't rolled out a target for Canvas yet. Cool. Any other questions? Anything online? Just want to take this as an opportunity to pause, make sure I'm not steamrolling through any content. You guys are feeling good? All right, let's keep going. So you guys are, excuse me, sorry, I'm still getting over a cold and I have the cough lingering. So how does React on Salesforce work? Let's talk about it. Like everything in Salesforce, it's driven by metadata, right? So they introduced a new metadata. It's under beta. It's called UI bundle. UI bundle represents this thing that they're calling the Salesforce multi-framework app. And they said such as React. So to me, this is a hint that there's going to be other libraries supported here in the future, whether that's Vue or Angular. That's still out there, remains to be seen. But I think this is going to continue to evolve, and we'll be seeing other technologies beyond just React. Hence the very kind of vague naming convention of UI bundle and multi-framework. I don't think they're just talking about Lightning Web versus React. I think this is going to continue iterating. But that's just my little conspiracy theory. If you brought a tinfoil hat, please put it on. So what does a UI bundle look like? This might look kind of familiar. This is just a screenshot I took of a React component that I built called Saman likes React. These tags should probably look really familiar. We're defining the type of metadata. I give it a label, I give it a description, active, I give it a target, and this is what I was talking about with it not being supported in Canvas yet. There's only a couple targets I can add, a version number, and that's it. But you guys are probably wondering, where's the code? There's no code here, right? It's just a couple lines of metadata. It's no good. Exactly. So this meta files, if you build a Lightning Web Component, this is conceptually the same thing in Lightning Web Components, where we have like a js-meta.xml. It's just representing the Lightning Web Component. It doesn't actually tell you anything about the Lightning Web Component and how it works itself. So you can kind of draw the conceptual similarities there. But even within that, the rest of the components that you deploy to Salesforce are not the same. So in Lightning Web, what do we have? We have the actual source code, right? So we have the JavaScript file that you write, the HTML file that you write, the CSS file that you write. But if you look over on React, it looks a little funky. We have this dist folder that stands for distribution, hint, hint. And then we have a index.html, and then this kind of weirdly named index.a-abc123, whatever, .js. So what that represents is not the code that I as a developer wrote. It represents the bundled code. And if you guys, when I was talking about earlier about the minified code that we end up deploying, that's what that is. This is what it looks like. Who can tell me what this does? Nobody, right? Like this is not in a human readable format. This is the bundled JavaScript index file that I end up deploying to Salesforce. So how do I create that? Do I have to like learn a new technology? Kinda. So along with React, we now have a new technology stack that we get to, not stack, but a new technology that we get to interact with called Vite. I think it's French for fast or something. Thank you. Yeah, so Vite. So Vite comes into play to help us create that bundled file. So let me explain how. You remember when I talked about NPM? NPM is responsible for not only helping you see all the different packages that are out there via their UI, but it also gives you a CLI that you can run in your terminal to actually install those dependencies. Whenever I install a dependency, I say like npm install and the name of the dependency. When I run that type of command, it goes to npm, the registry, downloads the files it needs or the references it needs, and it updates a file on my system called package.json. Package.json is going to tell me the name of the dependency and the version of the dependency. Now, there's some nitty-gritty details in here too, like we can, this syntax kind of means that it can upgrade dependencies automatically. Without it, it means I want one version of that code and I never want it to be upgraded. Conversations for another day. So once I install these dependencies, now as a developer, it's my job to actually write the code. So I have to import those dependencies. So here's some examples of that, where I'm importing from React Router. See that here. I also see that here. Importing some methods or functions that are available in React Router. I do the same thing for React, same thing for create root, et cetera, et cetera. And I do that all in that. Remember when I was talking about building React components and how you create those JSX files? That's kind of what this ends up looking like. So yeah.
What is the .tsx?
So when I was talking about earlier was JSX, that's the JavaScript markup, but this one is TypeScript markup. It's just a superset of JavaScript that's typed. So this could have very well as easily just been .jsx. So now that I have these two files, the problem is I can't deploy this app.tsx to Salesforce. Why can't I deploy it? Well, a couple reasons. I'm sure I don't work there, so I don't know for sure, right? But I know that if I were to deploy this code, Salesforce would have no idea what React Router is, or what version of React Router I would need, what dependencies within there I would need. Same thing with React, React DOM, et cetera, et cetera. So what we want to do is kind of build this and tell Salesforce exactly what we need, and we do that through Vite. Vite, we run a command, and it takes both these files, the relevant parts of these files, and bundles them all by combining them together, and then minifies the file. The output of Vite, it goes into our distribution folder, that dist, and that's how our index.js files create. So from there, I can actually use this as my artifact, along with that XML file, and deploy that to Salesforce as a UI bundle. I know that seems a little daunting, and the good thing is Vite, all that is kind of abstracted away for you, so you don't need to know how bundling works to build React apps. I just kind of wanted to give you a peek under the hood. All that we need to do as developers is run this 3-word command, npm run build, and we're kind of off and running. But that's too much theory. You guys are bored. You guys are bored. I see it in your faces. You guys are bored. Okay, so let's build and I'm coughing. Oh my God, I'm choking here. All right, so let's build.
We need more food.
Can I have it? Yeah. Sorry. Thanks, Nathan. Sorry, everyone online. Yeah.
Sorry.
Thanks. Oh, thank you. No, you're good. We're just taking a quick pause for appetizers in the restaurant. Sorry, everybody. Any comments in the chat? Everyone's good. You guys are good. You guys are easy. Okay. I am going to show you just that. I'm going to show you just that. Okay, so here in VS Code, I have what I'm calling my vanilla Salesforce org. Nothing special. We've seen this a million times. It's a Force app main default. It's got my classes, my LWCs, whatever. Like truly just what we are all used to. So if I wanted to create a React component, I need to take advantage of a new sfcli command called templates. Let me actually pull up the docs for us real quick so we can take a look at that. Don't look at all the screenshots I have on my desktop. Okay, so CLI, I'm looking for a new command called generate UI bundle. So this command, whenever I run it, I can pass in a name. This is going to be the name of my React app. And then I can pass it a template that I want to use, React Basic. So this is another hint to me that there's probably other frameworks like Angular and Vue coming down the pipeline. They're just starting with React because it's kind of the most popular one. So what I can do is I can just go ahead and run this command. SF template generate UI-bundle and give it a name. I'm just going to name it the Dallas Devs React application. And I'm going to pass in that template of React Basic. And I might have one other dependency already installed on my machine for the Salesforce UI bundle. I'll give you guys the link to that. I'll give you guys a link to a document that Salesforce has created that kind of shows you how to install some dependencies, but it's like 1 or 2 lines. It's not a big deal. So once I run this command, assuming I didn't mistype anything, Salesforce is going to create some new files for me, or the CLI is going to create some new files for me. Let's see if it does it. Okay, haven't seen that before. Let me copy the command exactly in case I messed something up.
You didn't put dashes in front of your template. Oh, no, sorry.
Oh. I mean, should take the alias, but let's see.
Yeah, there's an extra dash template at the end, argument.
Oh.
I think it was -T just stored.
Guys, what's going on?
Demagogues are not pleased.
No such file directory v or worker instance. That's no fun. That's the first command.
Are you certain you spelled your name correctly?
Yeah, all that's fine. Generate UI bundle. I don't think I did anything wrong there. Let's see. Let me check something on my other screen real quick. Sorry, you guys.
Can you ask your wife code agent there?
Yeah, I definitely can.
Take pictures of that.
Let me. So earlier when I mentioned there's some dependencies, this is one of them, the Salesforce plugin for UI bundles. I'm just going to install that again in case something weird happened there. Oh. Okay, so this might be
You have an
more
SF
generic.
update suggestion from the crowd.
All right, thank you. Oh, guys. My bad. Let's change. I'm in a deleted directory. Oh my God, that's so embarrassing. All right, pretend you didn't see that, all right? Pretend you didn't see that. Okay, guys, I definitely didn't do this demo earlier just to make sure it works, and that was not a hint of that. Okay, trying that again. Dallas Devs React app. React Basic. Okay, now we're cooking. Let's go. Okay, so let's see what it created. I have Git initialized in this repo, so I can kind of see all the files that it created. Okay, that's a ton of files, right? But that's like a plate. Yeah, that's for if it doesn't find the route. So, okay, some of the things that we talked about are now showing up, right? I talked about UI bundles. So that new folder got created to represent this new grouping of metadata. It created the Dallas Devs React app for me based off that name. Here I can see that UI bundle that I talked about as well. You'll notice that there's no target on here because it has a default target of application. So I'm all set there. And from there, I have a source file that has most of kind of the templated React logic that the application comes with. One that I'll highlight is this routes.tsx. So this tells React how different URL paths need to render different components. So the way to read this is the base path is going to be mapped to the home component that I have, and anything else is going to be mapped to this not found page that I have. So to actually see this working, I just need to cd into this folder. So let me copy that. And now that I'm...
Sorry, can you repeat what the routes are?
It maps the routes in the browser, so like / blah, 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 to a component. So the very first thing I'm going to do for this React app is I have my package.json here that lists all the different dependencies, but none of these have actually been installed so far. This is just a reference to those dependencies. So as soon as I run npm install, it's going to go to npm and it's going to download all those dependencies onto my project so they can be referenced and put those in another folder here called node modules. We don't need to necessarily worry about what's in here, but that's kind of where it's stored. Now that I have that, I can run a command called npm run dev, and this is going to take my React app and host it locally on my own machine for me, so I can build my app and kind of see how I'm doing. So it went to localhost, it opened up port 5173, and it put my React app there, and there it is. And the really cool thing about React and just this build in general is it hot reloads. What hot reload means is if I do something like I make a development change, that'll start showing up for me instantly. So if I go to this home component and I just like rename this, welcome to the React app from the Dallas devs, my change isn't reflected yet, but as soon as I hit save and I go back, I see my change reload. This makes it really easy for me as a developer to write some code, verify my code, write some code, verify my code, right? Right, exactly, versus deploying to Salesforce, waiting for it to load, going to the page, exactly, right? And I know Lightning Web recently had a new feature where you can, I think, preview the Lightning Web component on, yeah, exactly. So some comparable features there now. But this is not super interesting. I want to actually deploy this to Salesforce so everyone in my org can access this React app. What would you guys typically do? I would go to this like app and I would hit deploy, right? Is that going to work? No, right? Because I missed a step. Remember when I was talking about Vite and how we need to bundle our code and actually deploy it? And I showed how complicated and scary it looked. Well, it is actually just, like I said, just one command, npm run build. As soon as I run this guy, Vite is going to go through that transpilation process. It's going to go create those files that I mentioned. And now that I have those, now I can just hit deploy. No, Vite is an existing technology. It's used in general for React, but they came up with a new wrapper for Vite, and just to help with the UI bundle and make some other files that we need as well. Okay, so I think that deployed. So what that means is now if I go to my Scratch org, everything keeps opening up on the wrong page today. So now if I type in React, Dallas Devs React app, I see that as an app, and now everyone in my Salesforce org can access this app. Pretty cool, right? Don't ask me about the URL and why it says LWR. I think that's the Lightning Web runtime, and right, and why it says AI in here, but I think they just snuck the AI in there. I don't know what that's all about, so don't ask them. Everything's product AI. Placement. Yeah, product placement.
I remember for TDX when they released 84's Labs.
Yeah.
I went to go look up more information on it. Nothing was available.
Yeah.
The help screen, like I searched, I had 84's and help look up 84's Labs. It does not exist.
Wow.
Of course,
what are we gonna do?
it did exist.
Yeah. Okay. So where was my slides? Again, don't look at the stuff on my desktop. Okay, so that was our quick little demo. There's a lot more to React. I think it would be really overwhelming if I went through all of it. So I put a couple more slides just to give us an idea of some of the other features, and then we can kind of wrap up. So, okay, so one of the questions you might have is how do you get your Salesforce data in React? And one of the key ways that you can do it is with another technology that Salesforce did not create. It's called GraphQL. It's used pretty widely in the industry. But GraphQL is not new to Salesforce. it needs an endpoint, and that endpoint's been available on Salesforce today or even a month ago. You could build Lightning Web Components and use GraphQL if you wanted to. So GraphQL has been around, but what's new is Salesforce came up with a new NPM package to help us build React apps with GraphQL. Give me 1 second here. And this is basically going to act as a wrapper for us that helps GraphQL do an authentication into Salesforce, so it can go hit that endpoint that Salesforce has, retrieve the information, respect our FLS, and send it all back to us without us having to do any of the heavy legwork of making that post call and reading the response back and all that good stuff. So this is an example of what GraphQL looks like with React. It's pretty straightforward. I'll go ahead and import that dependency I have, the Salesforce SDK data. I'm going to bring in that create data SDK and that GQL. This is the specific syntax for GraphQL. So just like SOQL being a query language, GraphQL is the graph query language. So you do have to learn some new syntax about how to issue and write these GraphQL statements. But this kind of gives you the gist of what it looks like. So if I want to write a query to get accounts, have to grab ID, name, look at the edges, all that good stuff. Once I build that query kind of as a string here, I pass it to those libraries that I had for us, and I execute that. So like I said, it handles the authentication, it handles the post request, and it handles the response from here. Compare this to Lightning Web Components. Like I said, Lightning Web Components already had GraphQL available. This is what it looked like. More or less, it's kind of the same thing, maybe a couple small differences here and there, but largely the query itself looks the same, but some of the code around it looks a little different. Next thing I want to highlight is how calling Apex changes. And it's definitely possible. In my opinion, it's a little less abstracted now, and I did prefer the way Lightning Web Components did it. Curious to know y'all's thoughts once I share. But just to ground ourselves, Lightning Web Components, we do an import statement, and we go to the class that we need and the method that we need. Once we get that import, we're able to literally just call the Apex class as long as we tagged it with or enabled. It's really straightforward. I don't have to know anything about networking. I don't have to know how Salesforce implemented this behind the scenes. It truly is like magic for me as a developer. And the reason I was a little disappointed, I don't think disappointed is the right word, but a little bit of that magic is kind of lost with React, because now I actually have to make the network request myself by using fetch. So I can still use that SDK data, so I don't have to re-authenticate into my Salesforce org. The SDK data package does it for me. So I'll create a new instance of that, and I have to actually call my class as a REST service now. And I thought this was a little unfortunate. So you do have to create a class, mark it as a REST resource, associated with the URL mapping, and then attribute that method that you have with HTTP GET or HTTP POST. Again, it's not the biggest deal in the world, but it does kind of hide away some of that magic. Yeah. I think they only accept it right now as like query parameters, so I would have to pass it into the URL. I'm sure though you could pass it in with the body too, but the only example I've seen. Yeah, no, we might. Well, I'll definitely dig in a little bit deeper and see. So one of the main questions is what happens to Lightning Web Components? From what I've heard, it's going to still remain the flagship framework. Nothing's changing there. There's no talks that I've heard of sunsetting, retiring that, etc. And I think that's a good thing, because this multi-framework is still in beta, right? Like you can truly only deploy React apps as a standalone app in your App Explorer. You can't put it on a dynamic form right now. You can't add it to a flow right now. I hear that that's coming soon. But as of right now, that's not possible. You can really only just build those standalone experiences. And are there any risks involved with using React? Yes, one of the biggest risks is going to come not from React itself, but from the Node package manager. If you have been paying attention to tech news, there's been a lot of vulnerabilities that have come out through NPM, a lot of supply chain attacks, and a lot of supply chain poisoning. Typically what happens is like I said, these NPM packages are developed by individual people, right? And they just do it in their free time. Some of these people have been specifically targeted. They've been phished. And the attackers have gotten access to their credentials in one way or another, and they've introduced a poisoned version of a trusted package into NPM. So if you are building your React app and you say, yeah, give me any of the most recent version of this package, there's a risk that you will bring in a malicious package. So there's some best practices around that I won't get into today, but I just wanted to call that out as kind of one of the risks to be aware of when you're building these React apps. My advice is just start looking into this technology and explore. See if there's those use cases available at your enterprise or at your company or for your clients, and see if it makes sense to build. But otherwise, it'll be a great time building this, and I think it'll be fun for you to kind of get out of the ecosystem for a little bit, see how other people have been building web applications, and see if it's a good fit for you. A couple Salesforce resources I definitely wanted to hit. Charles Watkins, the lead developer advocate at Salesforce, he is hosting a session on May 13th at 9 a.m. Pacific.
He's online.
He's online. Let's go, Charles. Welcome. All right, so he is hosting a upcoming Code Live with Charles. It's on LinkedIn. I think it's going to be a great time. You'll get to see the true expert go in and build some of these React apps, even show you how Agentforce Vibes is configured to help you build these React apps much quicker. So check that out. I'm going to be attending that session, so I hope I can see you guys there. And yeah, and Charles and team have also put in a lot of great effort into building a set of recipes for React. It's under the Trailhead Apps multi-framework recipes. I will share that link as well.
You are not. Oh, sorry, you are sharing that. Sorry.
No, you're good. So this is a bunch of easy to understand React sample projects that the team has put together to help you see all these different topics I talked about. I'm going to be sharing content as I learn it. So if you're not connected with me on LinkedIn, get connected, and I'll be posting some more content on YouTube. I've used GraphQL in the past, but it's been a number of years, so I need to relearn. So whatever I'm going to relearn, I will share that with you guys on my YouTube and LinkedIn. So check that out. Thank you guys for attending. Thank you for making time out of your evening away from friends and family to be with me and us tonight. I appreciate you guys and your time. I will drop the links to those resources real quick in this chat. 3, 2, 1, let's go. All right. Oh, the formatting was bad, you guys. I'm sorry. Let me fix that. There's also a great article that Salesforce put out about multi-framework in general and some of the considerations. And they have even more comparisons about Lightning Web versus React that I didn't get to today. So definitely check that out as well and give that a good read. But again, thank you guys so much for coming. I appreciate your time.
Question from the audience.
Yes.
So, Saman, is it VS Code with Claude that you use as an IDE?
It is, yeah. Claude Code is my preferred coding agent right now. And I use VS Code, and I use the Claude Code VS Code plugin, and I also use the terminal, the headless experience as well.
Okay. Can you stop sharing so I can share my print site?
Yes.
Oh,
I'm sorry. There you go.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, guys.
Thank you. Gotcha. Yeah. So, tired of everybody trying to replace developers, so I wanted to highlight some of the possible changes that AI could implement much easier. So, Imagine how few tokens it would cost to replace your CIO, your CTOs, your managers. So we put some statistics out here that are completely made up. Mostly, I just want everybody to have something that they can throw around when people are talking about replacing their jobs or getting rid of them. So we had AI write this web page, and it made a bunch of statistics, which are roughly based on the truth that having a random reorg, that wouldn't take a whole lot of tokens to arrange. So anyway, that's out there. If you want to act, I'm not monetizing this or anything, but just fun whenever you're having conversations with everybody who's dying to cut costs and get rid of developers, that it's way cheaper in tokens to get rid of unskilled management and executives.
I like the ROI.
Yeah, the tokens was my favorite. Like, yeah, I'm wasting a lot of tokens. Yeah, it's way cheaper. You don't even have to use Claude to replace a CIO. So anyway, that was just a fun thing, but please terrify some of your executives by throwing that around. Wait. Anyway, thank you for letting me plug that fun website. What's that?
ROI incentive gap comparison.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I made the open claw, open C-suite. Yeah. Yeah, we can do reorgs. We can do 1,000 reorgs per second. Did accomplish nothing. Generated some fake quotes.
I mean, that doesn't sound too much different from C-suite. Is that what they do? So they got
Yeah. This is my chief AI officer work. Okay. Enough fun. Thank you, everybody.
Any questions about React or anything else? Yeah.
So, one question. At the end, kind of, you mentioned about.
Do you have a mic by? Do you have a mic?
So, Saman, yeah. At the end, during the risks you mentioned about these being open source and can be like used to attack or like any kind of cyber attacks, right? So, do you see in future Salesforce coming up with their own kind of libraries?
Their own kind of what? I missed the last part.
Sorry?
What was the last part that you said? Salesforce coming up with their own.
Salesforce coming up with their own libraries.
Their own I don't think so. I mean, I doubt it because I think part of this push is to take advantage of all the free work being put out by the community. Yeah. And with those risks too, there's like when I talked about best practices, like a lot of what enterprises do is they lock down those versions of packages. I don't know if you guys use Artifactory or Chain Guard is a more modern one.
JFrog.
Yeah, JFrog. So there's ways that companies have been locking down those packages too. So I probably anticipate this when you guys want to go develop this if you work at a large enterprise and have to take this through a security review. I'm sure some of those, not roadblocks, but hurdles will come up and you'll probably need to adapt to the way the engineering orgs typically build these React apps.
And I'm really excited about like what you mentioned, that it's React for now, but then could expand later into Angular and everything else. Right?
And it's the real React. It's not like some version of React that Salesforce forked and made, right? It's the React, as plain as it can be. So anytime the community is updating React, anytime there's new packages available, you're free to use them regardless of Salesforce's, wishes, more or less. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for asking. Any other questions? Any questions online? Otherwise, I'm shutting this laptop and grabbing myself a margarita. Let's go. All right. Bye, everyone. Have a great night. Thank you guys again for joining. Bye, you guys. Thank you, Jennifer. I will slam that margarita like there's no tomorrow. All right. See you guys.